Hi folks, welcome to Set Up Our Homestead. This is Travis. So today I want to talk about homesteading, the term itself, the meaning, what it is. Why are people always talking about it? And it's something, I guess, that has a pretty broad meaning. Um, and we talk about preparedness and a few other things on this channel, but and I've kind of talked about sort of the definition, in my opinion, of preparedness or prepping, but not really homesteading. So I thought we could talk about that, and hopefully this will encourage some of you that have this dream or desire to homestead. It used to be that it was a government act. Back in 1862 kind of started it, and then there were a few other acts that, basically could take this raw land and you'd get 160 acres typically, and as long as you lived on it a certain length of time and developed it, it would become yours. Well, that's no more. That stopped back in the 70s. The act, dissolved. People haven't done that in many, many years. So there's no free land out there anymore to just go and develop. So that's not what homesteading is anymore. I've seen people talk about homesteading just in their house, just how they live their life. They refer to their home as a homestead, even if there's no farm at all involved. So what is it? What is this homesteading? And it's not something, I don't think, that's easily defined. And I know that there's a lot of people that watch this channel that do homestead, and there's other people that want to. So for those of you that don't, but you have this desire to, and you may be saying, yeah, but I don't have any land. I live in the middle of the city. I live in an apartment. I don't have the money. I don't know how to take care of animals. I don't know how to garden. All these sorts of things that you think might prevent you from homesteading. Well, let me tell you that isn't going to hold you back. The only thing holding you back is you. To me, and this video is mostly just going to be my opinion, so let me get that straight. To me, homesteading is just basically another way of saying that I'm self-sufficient, that I live a life of self-reliance as much as possible. That as much as possible, I take care of myself. I do as much taking care of my own food, of growing it, raising it, producing it, taking care of my own emergency needs, maybe even providing for my own, heat or electricity or water or whatever it is, of being prepared in a way that makes you self-sufficient as much as possible. And it's really a spectrum. It's a spectrum for everybody, because there are some people that live way out in the wilderness, and they almost 100% live solely off the land. And then there's people that live in the middle of a big city, and they to them maybe homesteading is just trying to live a healthier lifestyle and buying more natural whole foods and cooking whole foods and having a little bit of preparedness. That could be homesteading for other people, and that's okay. Like I said, it's really a spectrum. Personally, I have done everything from living in an apartment or living in a city, in the middle of a city, and trying to grow food in my backyard, helping other people develop or build a balcony type garden in their apartment, all the way to the other end of either owning a good amount of land and having animals, to also living completely off the grid, no electricity whatsoever, no running water, heated and cooked over the fire. I went down to a spring to gather my water. So I've lived pretty extremes on either end. So I see that there's a difference, and it's not everybody can live the completely off-grid, completely self-reliant, living off the land. Maybe it's health, maybe it's money, maybe it's just where you're at in your life, and that's okay. Don't get discouraged by it. Continue pushing forward of becoming more self-sufficient. So why do we become self-sufficient? Why is that? Well, you know, some people just have a natural drive to it. You know, for me, my personal independence is just a natural drive, and it's something that drives me and directs me pretty much every day of my life and everything that I do. And I know that some people are different. They may have been raised differently, and they yearn, they crave the comfort, they crave that safety and security that, you know, an established, I'm trying to say this in a politically correct way. I don't know why, because I'm rarely ever politically correct. They crave that, you know, that safety and security from, you know, an established system around them, where they don't have to worry about, um, you know, themselves too much, that they can enjoy life in a way that they don't have to, you know, think too much about, are they being taken care of? You know, I'm not going to poo-poo them. I'm not going to say they're wrong. To each their own. But I will say that people that are like that, it's very risky, because when you put all your eggs in one basket, when you put all your dependence upon a system, that history has proven these systems, governments and economies and industries fail. They're not permanent. They're not impenetrable. They're not you know, forever lasting. They always fail. It's just a system of how it works. So when you put all your faith in that, and your whole livelihood in that, depending upon them to survive, when they fail, then you fail. You have nothing to fall back on. So for me, my own independence, my self-reliance, the reason why I homestead and prepare, is so that I know that if anything happens, that I'm taken care of as best as possible, that I'm taking care of myself and my family and those around me. Is it guaranteed? No, it's not guaranteed. You know, I can fail, I can make a mistake, I can not be as prepared or as knowledgeable as I need to be, but you know what? I work every day to try to get to that point. I try to always learn new things and add new skills to what I'm doing. And so it doesn't really matter if you have 1,000 acres of land and 50 head of cattle and 100 and some odd chickens and all that kind of stuff, or if you're living in an apartment in the middle of a huge metropolitan area. You know, that spectrum, you know, yes, you might be at a higher level, meaning that you could be more prepared and more self-reliant out in those woods with all those animals, but you can still, at some level, homestead and be self-reliant right where you're at right now. And so that's what I want to encourage people, that don't worry so much about where you're at or trying to get to a certain place. You continue doing that, continue to have goals and continue to have a drive, but don't wait until then to start. Start doing it now. Start, you know, growing food in pots in your house or on your back porch or balcony or something like that. A small garden. Maybe get involved in community gardens that are around you. You know, check out, maybe you're not too far of a drive to outside the city, where there's other small farms, maybe little homesteads, and maybe you could work out a deal with them to volunteer to help on their little farm or homestead in exchange for, you know, some of the bounty that the place brings in. So there's all kinds of options out there for you. And learning to eat healthier, learning to eat from whole foods, because if you did live, you know, out in the, you know, countryside growing your own food, you're going to have to learn how to cook from those natural ingredients. And so many people nowadays, they just don't know how. You know, they're used to sticking it in the oven, or, you know, opening a box, put it in the microwave or the oven, and it's done, or going through a drive-through or ordering it to have it delivered. So you need to learn those types of skills. And you can also learn to start, you know, storing up food, canning food, preserving food. You don't have to have a garden to preserve and can food. You know, you can watch your grocery stores and your farmers markets, and when things, you know, kind of low priced or on sale, you know, buy up a big, you know, box of tomatoes or cucumbers or green beans or whatever, and go home and can it yourself in your own apartment. And these things do several things. They make you more self-sufficient. They make you more prepared. And they also, you're developing skills so that someday, hopefully, if you can get more out into the, on your own, out in with a little bit more land, a little bit more space to do things, then you will already have those skills developed. So homesteading to me is really a mindset, an idea, an ideal. It's not so much a thing like it used to be, of living on a certain, portion of land with a house on it and so many animals and blah blah blah. That's not really what homesteading is, at least to me, anymore. It's about the life that you're trying to live, of being self-sufficient, of being as independent as possible, being as prepared as possible for whatever happens. And I'm not talking about just an apocalypse that happens. I'm talking about, a snowstorm or the power outage. I mean, look at California. Look at the people that are going through power outages in California. And I bet many of those people wish they were more prepared. Were able to, sustain themselves on their own. And I bet the ones that, I'm sure there's probably some that live in those areas that may be more prepared or be more self-sufficient. Maybe they have solar powered, they're not connected to the grid and stuff. I bet they're really loving it. They look around at neighbors that have no electricity and they still have it, or the difficulty of cooking food because of the lack of electricity, but they can do it because they're prepared. That's what homesteading really is to me. And I've said this before, homesteading and preparedness are one and the same in my mind. I mean, there are kind of those TV show preppers. I don't really see myself as that, but to me, homesteading and being prepared are the same. You can't really homestead and not be prepared, and if you want to be prepared, the best way to do it is to get that homesteading mentality, that you're not just storing up boxes and buckets of food, but that you're becoming self-sufficient. And learning how to, produce your own food, and learning how to take care of yourself, produce the needs that you have around you, fulfill those needs that you have around you. That's really, to me, what homesteading is. So for those of you out there that are really wanting to do this, that are really, craving this lifestyle, don't wait until you get that 5 or 10 acres out in the country, or those goats or those chickens or whatever. Start doing it now. And like I said, I've helped people start gardens on very small little balconies. Did it produce a lot? No, but it taught them some skills, gave them, started adding to their toolbox. And it did help, produce things. Some ideas that you could start on small spaces are herbs, because they don't need a whole lot of space, and you can add them to your foods, and they're healthy for you, like basils and mints and things like that, or lemon balms, stuff like that you can grow in a small amount of area, and they produce quite a bit. One basil plant will produce quite a bit of basil leaf for you. So anyways, these are some ideas, and mostly I want to just continually encourage you to start becoming more self-sufficient, to find ways. There's no excuse not to. The amount of information that's out there now, there is no excuse. There's so many books produced, websites, videos like mine, people online that can help you, groups. There's no excuse whatsoever to not become more self-sufficient, and it's a constant process. I've been doing it for many years, and I'm still don't consider myself an expert, because I'm still learning all the time. All right, thank you all for watching, and remember that it's more of a mindset. It's not a specific thing. It is a mindset set. So don't be afraid to say, yeah, I am a homesteader. Oh, you live in an apartment, or you live in a little townhouse, or house with a really tiny backyard. Well, but still, I'm learning to be more self-sufficient every day. All right, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.